Hello, chibified Final Fantasy characters. I am King Link, and this is, of course, the last look at World of Final Fantasy. If you enjoy this, consider subscribing. It helps me out, and that's all I ask. I don't run ads, I don't have monetizations. Ring the bell if you want to be super awesome. So, I saw this game at E3 in 2015 and kind of dismissed it, which I think a lot of Final Fantasy fans did at the time. Final Fantasy has a decent number of spin-offs, and around that time they started making a number of mobile games. Honestly, I haven't found one of those mobile games that really spoke to me, so I kind of didn't really pay that much attention to this. I am, however, a big Pokemon fan. I love Pokemon Go still, and I love those little pocket monsters. Someone said that World of Final Fantasy is Pokemon meets Final Fantasy, and I got excited. And okay, yeah, it is, but it's also not. Let me do the typical graphics, story, and gameplay, and I'll tell you what World of Final Fantasy is and isn't. I'll try to keep this short. Now, graphically, this game is pretty good. You're going to be seeing me play as the chibi version of characters. It's also known as the smaller style, and they're super cute. Well, there are full-size characters in the beginning of the game, and the player can switch to the full-size or the chibi versions of themselves. Now, well, they are different for gameplay reasons, of course, but honestly, as I played the game, I kind of asked, why do you have the full-size characters? The only reason I could think of is that the chibi characters don't show as much emotion or reactions, and there's no good animations for them. That's fine, but honestly, the full-size characters don't mesh well graphically, and those full-size animations can be quite poor. Everything else in the game is done chibi style. What's great is this game spans 19 years of Final Fantasy history, taking characters from every single Final Fantasy game, and I do mean every single one, and they use the style to mesh, and it works well. Seeing Tifa next to Yuna, next to Rydia, all in the same style, and man, it works. The story, on the other hand, is good. If you want the full scoop on this, I would recommend checking the written review. I have a lot to say, and it's not all positive. However, the game goes full fan service for quite a bit, like 90% of this game. And if you want a fan service heavy game, World of Final Fantasy really delivers. I mentioned Tifa and Yuna and Rydia above. I won't talk about more characters that appear, but like I said, they have at least one character from every main Final Fantasy game, and I do mean every, as well as Crystal Chronicles and maybe one or two others. This is a fan service central for Final Fantasy, and you know what? That's what the game should be. Enjoy it, have fun with it, that's great. But sadly, the game isn't happy with that. The final chapter, or maybe the last two, becomes deathly serious, and the game decides to change from this lighthearted romp through Final Fantasy genres, which has been going on for about 50 hours at that point, to real story time, for serious fans only. Sorry, no, that doesn't work. I played 50 hours and you can't just say, now we're serious. Nope. I liked the story though before that point, but honestly them taking themselves so seriously that late in the game doesn't really work when there's not much of it anywhere else. They add a ton of exposition and none of it ties together. Personally, I hate that last chapter, and I do mean hate, and it does ruin some of this beautiful magic of this game. I still had 50 hours of fun, but come on, again, more in the written review. There's a lot that I want to call out, but we'll say that it's flawed in the late games. Now, gameplay-wise, yeah, it's kind of Pokemon, like I said, but it also isn't. You do go and collect Mirages, this game's version of Pokemon, and that works. I actually really like the collection aspects, and all the Mirages are interesting. They're all very cute versions of Final Fantasy monsters. The problem is, leveling them up and using them isn't as much fun. It feels like World of Final Fantasy is a bit stuck in 1996. There's only one save slot, and that's a big problem. I actually had to record this video when I first played it to deal with that fact, as there's no reason for one save slot. But the UI itself can also be terrible when managing a ton of Mirages. Want a strong electricity-based one? Well, I hope you know which one they are. Want one that can fly for you or smash rocks? Again, you better know which one they are. And no, it's not any of them with wings. You can cycle through all of them, but that's not a lot of fun. You just have to memorize which ones are important and not. And yeah, Pokemon did have the same problems, and I believe it probably still does in some format, but you know what? That's not a good problem. Don't emulate the bad issues along with the good. Improve on it and show us how you can make a better game. In addition, the game tries to make leveling more complicated with this Mirage board idea that you can see at the beginning of this video. It's similar to the board leveling in Final Fantasy X, or X if you want. It's interesting, but the levels come slow, and the power gain doesn't feel that exceptional. In addition, your Mirages don't evolve automatically. The good news is it uses this transmigration system to change forms, and that works. I really like seeing the new ones, but I never felt a huge need to use those transmigrations as I never got that much more power out of a unit between forms. A small amount, yes, but not a ton. And capturing Mirages is done through performing actions on them to make them vulnerable. It's a very good idea, and I think it actually has a lot of potential, but the capture rates are a bit low. Some Mirages can run away, and some of the Mirages are paying to do these actions. It depends what they want. Using an item on a Mirage, that's an interesting task. Reflecting their magic back at them, ugh. Especially when you can't get a good reflect spell until, well, later in the game. Also, being over-leveled means you do so much more damage to them that you might not be able to capture them because you're just going to kill them in one blow instead. There is ways around that, but it gets more complicated and it's not as interesting. Having stacked enemies as well means you have to topple them as well. Again, if you do too much damage, you kill them instead. In addition, you can capture more than one of each type of monster, and there's not really a huge reason for that as well, but it's there. I like the collection, but really, once you get into the depth of the collection, it starts getting to be more of a pain than just a gameplay element. And again, if you want to dive more into my opinions, grab the written review. It's in the notes below, and I do talk much more about the system, but let me give you a few more cliff notes. The auto battle system is excellent. It doesn't use tactics, just the same attack over and over, so you will have to take control yourself more often, and that's really how it should be done. Dragon Quest XI, or XI if you prefer, should really have learned from this. The combat is easy though, but there's some challenge near the end of the game, and the party makeup does matter throughout the whole game. However, you can grind to beat it like most JRPGs, and that would be a negative. But there's also cheats. In my first look, we look over them and I laughed at them because they're just in the config menu, but near the end of the game, I actually turned on a couple of them just to rush past two bosses that I almost beat, but I had some issue with. Guess what? Those cheats are actually really good, and honestly, free cheats that you aren't penalized for, 2 thumbs up square. It also makes the game more accessible, and kudos to that as well. That should be what all games aim for. Now, there's more, and honestly, read the review if you really care. However, this tries very hard to be Pokemon in the Final Fantasy genre, and in some ways it really succeeds. The collection is great, but that Mirage board and the level system never feels as good. It's overcomplicating something that by not making it far better than the original version. For me, I like the simple level and evolve system from Pokemon, and I like it far more. In addition, the game has some really annoying UI or requests for the player, but in the end, all of this stuff kind of works. Sadly, the last chapter is what ruins the experience for me, and you know what? I could ding this game a lot more because of that chapter, but it did deliver most of what I wanted, so I'm going to be kind of nice here. World of Final Fantasy gets a 3.5 out of 5. I wish the story was better. I wish the game was a little more addictive and less like a typical Final Fantasy slog near the end of the game. The game has longer levels as you go, but it didn't really need it. It's just more rooms in the level. If you want to grab this for just the fan service, or just because you don't have a Pokemon game on your favorite platform, do it, definitely. It's great for that. But it really needs another version, or a new, and the new Maxima version that they just released isn't going to change my opinion that much. It's just more content for the same game. DLC on the PC. Still, it's a really great first game, and I kind of want to see more. But Square, keep it lighthearted. That's what really worked here. Let me hang out with my old friends, and I'd be thrilled. And it is here for that too. Now that's World of Final Fantasy. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. We're going to be staying in the RPG genre for another game, adding in a little more strategy, and take a look at Disgaea 5 Complete. Look forward to that. Until then, I am King Link, and thank you for watching.
actually on a journey